सखनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। In Vivekachoodamani, today is the 53rd episode of this beautiful text by Bhagavan Sri Adisankaracharya, and we are looking into the final 100 verses of Vivekachoodamani. The topic that we are seeing now is about karma. If the person has realized the self, what happens to his karma? What happens to the results of the actions that he has done in past lifetimes? The results of the actions that he is continuing to do, will be doing in the future, in this present birth, and the results of the actions that he has to undergo in this lifetime, in this current incarnation, in this body. So we saw that the sanchita karma, or the accumulated results of actions which were done in the past, are completely erased for the person who has realized the self. So there is no sanchita karma. There is no collected balance of karmas that are awaiting to be exhausted in the future. Past karmas waiting to be exhausted in the future births. The old stock is cleared. The warehouse of karma is completely burned down, because he has, the fire of that self-realization has burnt down completely all the imprints of the past. Now we have imprints of karmic karma that also gets nullified in the wake of self-realization interest. So it is like the ego, the individual that experiences the karma is not there, and so the case is closed. Like in the case of a prisoner who is getting his sentence executed, he dies even before the release from prison. So he cannot be put in prison after his death. So that is the point. Agami karma is also not there. He cannot be bound by the future action, results of the future actions. He cannot be bound by that, because he is no more available to experience that. Now what is there right to experience is prarabdha karma. Prarabdha is prakarshena arabdha. What has been well begun. We say well begun is half done. So remaining half is there until the point of the death of the body. This physical body and all the actions that are needed to be done to sustain the body in terms of food, clothing, shelter, and communication and conversations with relation to this body to other people around. Other people see the presence of the body, even though the person inside might have realized. Other people are interacting with him still as the physical body only. So what happens to this prarabdha karma? Bhagavan Sri Adisankaracharya ji takes a very beautiful turn now to say that Sanchita karma and Agami karma are no more. Even Prarabdha karma is not there because there is no body actually, there is no physical body. What we are seeing is an illusion, which even science, quantum physics is talking about now, that every object that we see is only an illusion because the object is made up of molecules, subatomic particles, quarks, spinning in space. And why do they get this kind of a solid look that we have? Because we are the same physical body is also made up in the same manner of molecules and particles spinning in space. But since we are believing that this physical body is existing, it is appearing to us, and through this physical body, we see other objects. We don't see them as spinning molecules, but we see them as physical objects. That is a scientific perspective on what we say the world is an illusion. But here, Bhagavan Adisankaracharya, he talks in many ways about how prarabdha karma is there and how it is dissolved for the man of realization. And ultimately, he goes on to say that even prarabdha karma is not there. Prarabdham balavattaram khalu vidam bhogena tasya kshayah samyajnana hutashanena vilayah प्राक् संचितागामिनां ब्रह्मात्मैक्यमवेक्ष्य तन्मयतया ये सर्वदा संस्थिताः तेषां तन्त्रितयं नहि क्वचिदपि ब्रह्मैव ते निर्गुणम्. Prarabdha balavattaram. Prarabdha means this physical body is the prarabdha. It is our responsibility. Like we take care of this body. Somebody else, when we are physically active and healthy, only we are taking care of this body. Somebody else is not taking care of this body. Prarabdham. This body we are taking care of. It is balavattaram. It is very, very strong. Khalu, vidam. And the karma or the experiences that are happening in the physical body, how does it get dissolved? Bhogena tasya kshayaha. The results of the actions that manifest in the physical body get dissolved only by experiencing them. Experiencing means when there is a pain, I cast my awareness on that pain. Because I envelop that sensation of pain with awareness without and within, that sensation of pain dies down with my conscious experience of that pain. I cannot forget the pain, I cannot ignore the pain, I cannot wish away the pain, I cannot remove the pain. By taking medicines, we push the experience of experiencing that pain right now. But prarabdham balavattaram khalu bhogena tasya kshayaha. Prarabdha karma is exhausted only by experiencing it. That is the reason why many of our ancestors, even till today, the people of the older generation, whenever they get any pain in the body or any difficulty in the body, they will not immediately go behind searching for solutions to quieten the pain, to remove the pain. They will just allow it to be and they will accept it. And if you ask them, why don't you take a tablet for your headache? Or why don't you address your problem, whatever it is? They say, no, this is my prarabdha. As much as I can, I will accept it. And that is the way the knowledge they have had, that prarabdha karma goes away only by accepting that and going through that, rather than trying to avoid it or push it away or destabilize it in some way or the other. Bhogena tasya kshayaha samyak jnana hutashanena vilayah. By the clear knowledge of the self, I, vilayah, prak samchita agaminam. Both the samchita karma or the results of actions that we have accrued due to the actions done in the past lifetimes, that is samchita, well collected and stored here. All that gets, where is the sanchita karma stored? Sanchita karma is stored deep in our intellect, where due to the realization of the self which happens in the intellect, that intellect becomes alive with that fire of self-realization, and in that fire of self-realization, these past karmas which are stored there as imprints get dissolved. It is just like removing stains with acid or something hot. It goes away. And this agami karma, which is there because of the presence of the mind in the body is still existing. So the mind is existing. Because the mind is existing, always it will keep thinking, planning, scheming to do something or the other. And after this realization, whatever actions that are waiting to be done are the agami karma. We saw yesterday that prarabdha karma, sanchita karma is like the arrows that have been sent and the killing has been done. Prarabdha karma is the arrow that is sent and on its way. It will go and do its job. We cannot stop it halfway. Agami karma are all the quivers that are behind, waiting to be let out. The desires and the thoughts, which are the quivers of the wielder of the bow and arrows. Brahma atmaikyam avekshya tanmayataya ye sarvada samstita. That person who has realized that this Brahman and Atman, I, are one, and after that realization, tanmayataya, he just exists as his own self. Tanmayataya, sarvada samstita. At all times, he is very well established in that identity of the true identity of the self as Brahman. Tesham tantritayam nahi kvachitapi brahmaiva te nirgunam. These people, they do not have all the three karmas because they are that Brahman alone, free of all qualities of Sattva Guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna. They exist as the Brahman alone. Upadhitadatmya vihina kevala brahmatmanaivatmani tishthato munehe prarabdha sadbhava kathana yukta swapnartha sambandha katheva jagrataha. Swapnartha sambandha katha eva jagrataha. We see so many dreams. There are so many stories that we experience in the dreams, including where we are there, we are present and we are experiencing those stories. When we wake up from the dream, we are not holding on to the stories. We are not giving importance to those stories. We just let it go, saying it was just a dream. In the same way, upadhi tadatmya vihina kevala. The individual being who has realized the true self has given up the identity with the upadhis, the body, mind and intellect. And he is living in that awakened state of Brahma Atmana eva Atmani Tishtataha Munehe. The Muni is the person who is Manana Shilavaniti Munihi, constantly contemplating. He is living in the self, as the self, in full realization of the self. And because he is awakened to the self, he is removed his identity from the experiences of the body, mind and intellect. Prarabdha sadbhava kathana yukta. For such a person who is not identified with the presence of the body, prarabdha sadbhava kathana yukta. It is not appropriate to talk about prarabdha karma, or the actions and experiences pertaining to the body, like the person who has woken up from the dream is no longer associated with the body in the dream and the contents of the dream. In the same way, this person who has awakened to the reality is no longer identified with the physical body, the mind, and the intellect, which are the upadhis, or the limiting adjuncts for this self. नहि प्रबुद्धः प्रतिभास देहे देहोपयोगिन्यपि च प्रपञ्चे करोत्यहन्तां ममतामिदन्तां किन्तु स्वयं तिष्ठति जागरेण. The one who has awakened from the sleep of duality has no sense of I and mine, because that self, like the space, earlier we saw the example of space, the space without the body and the space within the body are not actually differentiated. The body does not segregate the space as within and without. It is only apparent to us. There is no reality in the statement that there is space within the body and space without the body. In the same way, there is no reality to the statement that there is consciousness within the body and consciousness outside the body, and this consciousness and that consciousness have merged and become one. There is no reality to that statement because consciousness is one. It is not something that exists within and without. Nahi prabuddhaha pratibhasa dehe deha upayogini api cha prapanche. One who has woken up from this ignorance of I and mine with respect to the dream body and the dream objects also, I, mine, and idam. In the dream, we have the concept of I am seeing the dream. Then we see the people whom we know in the dream, who are all appearing in the dream, we say they are mine. And then we see sometimes mountains, rivers, trees, animals, homes, and other objects also in the dream, which are idam. All three we dissociate with when we wake up. He lives ever awake as his own self. So he does not have any notion of I, mine, and I, the people who are concerned with me, and the objects I see when we wake up from the dream. In the same way, when this person wakes up from ignorance of this duality and he is established in that knowledge of the self, everything else, he comes out of all these dreams of the world. We do not, when in a dream, we are failing in an examination. Very often we get such dreams. We fail in an examination, or we go late and we are almost going to miss the train. At that time the waking happens. We don't miss the train, but we are always running late for the train, and everything is not going the way we want in the dream. And when we wake up, we look at the dream. We are not really sitting and crying for the train we missed or the examination we failed. We just go on with our work of the day without even just dismissing the whole thing as a vague dream. Natasya mityartha samarthanecham na samgrahas tajjagatopi drushtah tatranu yadi chenmrisharthe na nidraya mukta itishyate dhruvam. The one who does not wish to prove all the unreal objects to be real. In the dream, we see so many objects. We don't spend our energy and time in the waking state trying to tell people that, yes, really I saw this mountain. Really I saw this ocean. really I went in the strange journey in the dream. We don't keep explaining. Tatra anuvarti, tatra anuvrittir yadi chain mrisha arthe. He is also not maintaining, he is not explaining about the dream world. He is not also maintaining the dream world. We don't preserve the cash that we collected in the dream. We don't celebrate the promotion that we experienced in the dream. Tatra anuvrittihi yadi chain mrisha arthe. If he is still holding on to the unreal, we will just make fun of that person. He is just blabbering something which he saw in the dream. Na nitraya mukta itishyate dhruvam. Such a person, if he is holding on to the dream state and talking about the dream experiences, then we know that he is not free from sleep. In the same way, the man of realization, if he is still talking of experiences of the world and the suffering that he is going through and all the duality, then we can understand that his realization is not complete. So if the realization is complete, automatically we drop all our identification with the day-to-day transactions of the world and are remaining established in that self at all times. Tadvat pare brahmani vartamanah sadatmana tishtati nanya dikshate smritir yatha swapna vilokitarte tatha vidah prashana mochanadau. Prashanam, mochanam. There are actions like eating and excreting. These are the actions that happen after realization for that individual. I mean, the basic actions that continue to happen. Most other actions are stopped because they lose their identification with the world outside. Tatvat pare brahmani vartamanaha sada atmana tishtati na anya dikshate. For the person who remains identified with that supreme Brahman as the self, he always remains as I alone. This I exists as a non-doer and a non-enjoyer of results. Sada atmana tishtati na anya dikshate. He does not look at anything else other than the perspective of I, which means he has developed the vision of love where he sees himself in everyone and everyone in himself. There is a sense of oneness in that person. This is not a, when we talk of they are established in that oneness, it is not a very clinical or a very meditative state we are talking about. It is a state of relaxation. It is a state of letting go where, for example, if I am the person who holds the money is I, and the one who steals that money is also I am, there is no loss or gain here. I feel that sense of I-ness in me also, and I feel that the act of stealing in that person gives him joy, and that person is also I. So I experience joy through the act of stealing in that person. So both ways I am not offended, I don't feel insulted, and I don't feel deprived. It is like, I think Sri APJ Abdul Kalam, our former president, he said, even in a space, suppose a space mission fails, he says actually nothing is lost. This is because people who are also scientists, neurologists, people who go deep into that core of the human being, the core of the human personality, they will also speak a lot of things that are in tune with what is there in Vedanta, because they are, through their science, they are touching the core of the universe, which is the core of our own personality. So this was said by APJ Abdul Kalam. He said, even if a space mission fails, nothing is lost. Only a few scraps of metal go into outer space, because whatever has been bought by somebody else on this earth. and whatever has been given by somebody else to someone else in this earth only. So what gets left out is only a few scraps of metal in outer space. So we don't need to worry about that aspect of it. That is what he was saying. The thought is the same, where the consciousness is in me is a consciousness in everybody else. So there is no one person who is gaining or no one person who is losing. The whole process happens in totality. It is just like from point A to point B, you can say Delhi to Chennai, the railway line is there and the train moves from point A to point B. But viewed from a satellite, the satellite can see point A and point B. So there is no movement that is experienced for the person standing from the satellite. And so this person who has realized the self, he does not experience any movement outside. There is no him or the other. Everything is one and the same. Tatra anuvritti. Sorry. Yes. Na anyadikshate smritir yatha swapna vilokita arte. Like a memory, he looks at everything in this world. Whatever he sees and experiences in this world are nothing but memory impressions that are there. Tatha vidaha prashanam mochanado. In the same way, all the actions that he does to sustain the body, like eating and evacuating, bathing, and all that, everything is just a work of memory, and it is not, there is no reality in those actions. He does not give so much of importance to those actions because all that happens in our life. How do they happen? Because the active mind is there and the active mind is sustaining all the actions. The brain actually takes care of keeping the body alive. That is the job of the brain. And the brain gives the commands to the rest of the organs. The brain produces the necessary thoughts, and these actions happen on their own. It is without the what to say, strong will of that person who is in that body, the realized being. Karmana nirmita deha prarabdham tasya kalpyatam nanaderatmano yuktam naivatma karma nirmitaha. This body, karmana nirmitaha dehaha, this body has been established by action, and so prarabdham tasya kalpyatam. So you can talk about prarabdha for this body. Prarabdha means the experiences of the results of actions for this body, which is caused by action. Nana dehe atmano yuktam. It is not proper to attribute what to say, prarabdha karma to the self, which is not created by any action. The self is uncreated. It has always been there. Even before the physical body was born, the self has always been there. Nana dehe atmano yuktam naiva atma karma nirmitaha. This atma or the self is not caused by action, whereas the body is caused by action. So the prarabdha or the results of action affect only the body and it does not pertain to the self. It is not proper to say that the self has got prarabdha karma because it is not caused by action, and so it cannot be affected by action also. Ajo nitya shashvata iti brute shrutiramo tadatmana tishtatosya kutaf prarabdha kalpana. Earlier, Bhagwan Shankaracharya negated the impact of Sanchita karma and Agami karma on this person. Now he is negating even the impact of prarabdha karma, which even the Shrutis say that prarabdham has to be experienced for it to be exhausted. But here he says That prarabdha karma is also not there, it is only an imagination. Ajo nityaha shashvata iti brute shrutir amoghavaka. The words of the Shrutis never fail. And the Shrutis or the Upanishads, they say Ajaha, Nityaha, Shashvataha. Ajaha means unborn, Nitya is eternal, Shashvata is always permanent. It is always there. It was there in the past, it is there in the present, and will be there in the future. And these words cannot fail. Tat atmana tishtataha asya, for that person, for that Atman or the self, which is existing as unborn, eternal, and permanent, Kutaha Prarabdha Kalpana, where is the imagination of results of action on that self? So there is no possibility for that imagination also. But still, why do we talk of prarabdha? We talk of prarabdha only from the perspective of other people who are watching the realized, self-realized person. Prarabdham siddhyati tada yada dehatmana stitihi dehatma bhavo naiveshtaha prarabdham tyajyam ataha. So, prarabdha or the actions that are begun, which are yielding their results, siddhyati yada dehatmana stitaha. If the individual considers himself as the physical body, only for that person, prarabdha will be working, will be at work. Deha atma bhavaha naiveshtaha. For the one who has realized the self and understood that realize means realizing an object means I know it is a tumbler. The awareness of my mind completely surrounds a tumbler and I am aware of its presence. I know it is there. In the same way, the self is there, we are not aware of it. The moment we are aware of the self and we recognize its presence, we realize the self, and once we realize the self, we remain as the self. The problem with the objects outside is we don't become the object. But when we realize the self, we realize that we are that self and not anything else other than that. Dehatma bhavaha naiveshtaha. For the person of self-realization, he does not really prefer to stay in body consciousness. Once you have once you have got something very, very high, it is like a multi millionaire will not want to be living the life of a beggar. He will not, because he has enjoyed the benefits of being a multi-millionaire and having lots of money at his disposal. Maybe for fun's sake, he might put a dress like a beggar and roam on the road, and that too he will do only out of happiness. He will not do out of necessity, or he will not do because he is ignorant of his wealth. So even only for that sake he will be, otherwise he will not choose to live like a beggar. In the same way, the person who has realized the enormity of the self and has realized that he who has been searching is that self will not want to come and experience life in this body, which is very, very finite and very painful. So, therefore, the question of prarabdha for that person can be given up. We don't need to consider prarabdha karma also. So, which means practically all three karmas are erased for the person of self-realization. शरीरस्यापि प्रारब्ध कल्पना भ्रान्तिरेव हि अध्यस्तस्य कुतः सत्त्वम् असत्यस्य कुतो जनिः अजातस्य कुतो नाशः प्रारब्धम् असतः कुतः. Adisankaracharya Bhagavan is going for the kill. He is not stopping to say that there is no prarabdha for the man of realization. There is actually no prarabdha for everybody, but the man of realization realizes the truth So he enjoys the benefits of that. Sharirasyapi prarabdha kalpana. So finally, the previous verse ends with saying, for the man of realization, prarabdha doesn't exist because he doesn't identify with the body. Okay, but even if you say, for the body there is prarabdha karma, Bhranti Revahi, it is only a figment of our imagination. Why? Because Adhyastasya Kutas Sattvam. This body is a superimposition on existence. There is life, existence. In that life, something is superimposed life, we call it the body. So, superimposition is there is something in the background, and on that background, we have put some thought, and the thought is a superimposition. On life, there is this thought of body that is superimposed. Adhyastasya kutas sattva. So where is the reality for the superimposition? When the reality is only the consciousness. When reality is consciousness, where is the reality for this body? Kutas sattva. If there is no reality, kuto janihi, how can it be said to be born? An unborn person cannot have a birth date. Asatyasya kuto janihi. If there is no reality, if it is only a superimposition, superimposition means a thought in consciousness. If the body is only a thought in consciousness, it has no reality. It has no existence of its own. If it has no existence of its own, then wherefrom there is a birth date? Wherefrom it is born? It is not born at all. Ajatasya kuto nashaha. When something is not born, how can it be destroyed? When it is like saying, there is nothing here, that nothing had a birthday. So it will be like a comedy talk for a comedy show. Maybe a stand-up comedy can be done on this. Ajatasya kuto nashaha. When nothing is born, how can that thing be destroyed, or how can that die? Prarabdham asataha kutaha. For the asat, for the non-existence, how can there be prarabdha? Prarabdha means how can the non-existence do actions, and those actions can bring results, and those results that bring pain and suffering. Asatasya prarabdham asataha kutaha. For non-existence, for impermanence, for illusion, where is the question of prarabdha? So Bhagavan Adisankaracharya is sparing nothing to remove this thought that we have to go through prarabdha karma. There is no prarabdha for the asat or the non-existent body. The body is but a shadow of consciousness. From within, we are feeling the existence of something. That is the inner feeling of the body. From without, the light of the surroundings, the light of our own awareness is falling on the body and is reflecting. We are seeing that reflection of the light of consciousness, and we understand that to be the physical body. In reality, there is nothing called the physical body, and when there is nothing called the physical body, there is no question of prarabdha also. Prarabdha means actions that I have done in this present lifetime, for which I have to go through the results. Jnanena jnanakaryasya samulasya layo yadi tishtatyayam katham deha iti shankavato jadan samadhatum bahya drishyam prarabdham vadati shrutihi. So these Shrutis or the Upanishads do talk about prarabdha karma. Why do they talk about that? Jnanena ajnana karyasya samulasya layo yadi. If the effects of all ignorance are destroyed by knowledge, root, shoot, leaves, trees, all aspects of ignorance are destroyed by knowledge. tishtati ayam katham deha iti shankavato jadan. If that is when a person has realized the self, his body is still existing, right? Even though his ignorance has gone, the physical body is existing. The physical body is a product of ignorance. That physical body is existing. People seeing from outside, when they say, what is the point in realization when this body is existing? If this body is existing, then the person is not realized. That is what they will think. Shankavato jadan, because jadatva buddhi, their thinking is very inert. Samadhatum bahya drishtya. So to console those people from their perspective, prarabdham vadati shrutihi. The shrutis say that no, this body does exist because it has to exhaust its prarabdha, and so the body will continue to exist despite realization. This they say, but the shrutis also say that the body of the person who has realized the self is like you burn an incense, the burnt incense will lie down on the sheet below in a straight line. As it burns, it falls down. It looks like an incense stick, but it's really not an incense stick, because if you touch it, it is just ash in that place. It is not like the regular incense stick that we can see, which is solid. This has got no real solid reality. It just exists because of the force of prarabdha. It continues to exist. Natu deghadi satyatva bodhanaya vipaschitam yatashrutera bhiprayah paramarthaika gocharaha. The idea of prarabdha has been spoken of in the Upanishads, not to prove that the body is real, but for the man of realization. The Upanishads are striving to point out the one supreme reality. Yataha shrutehe abhiprayaha paramartha eka gocharaha. There is only one supreme self. And for the dehadi satya sambodhanaya vipaschita. The Shrutis don't talk of prarabdha for to ascertain the presence of the body. They talk of prarabdha to prove the self, to prove the complete realization of the self. Gurudev, Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda ji says in his commentary very beautifully, Shankara concludes his discussion and says that the perceivers of plurality, the Dvaitins, the people who see duality, means I and the other, the man of realization and the ignorant man, they quote the Upanishadic passages that sanction the Prarabdha theory. The Dvaitins, they talk about Prarabdha mentioned in the Upanishads to prove that even the man of realization has got body consciousness, and therefore there exists a world of matter other than Brahman. There is Brahman and there is matter also, they say. But Shankara here takes away the very plank from under the feet of these Dvaitins. He says that the Upanishads condescend to recognize the play of prarabdha only out of their infinite grace to accommodate fools in their early stages of unpreparedness, that they may later accept the total vision of the Absolute One. The Acharya says that any student of the Upanishads can easily understand that, by and large, the anxiety of the scriptures is to communicate to him the one reality, the Brahman. And tomorrow, we will see how there is no plurality. There are a series of verses from 465 to 471 which talks of just one Brahman and not many that we see around us. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Om Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasorma Jyotirgamaya, मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। हरि नमः पार्वती पतये। हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम। हरि ओम।